A man sat frozen inside a blue gate, his face twisted in shock at the sight before him. A sense of dread gripped his heart as he stared at the figure looming ahead, a blue-skinned elf radiating a terrifying aura. Trembling, he mustered the courage to ask, "What are you?" The elf, seemingly uninterested in answering, was searching for the fragments of brilliant light. With a cold glance at the man, he murmured,
"You are not one either."
Before anything more could be said, a sudden shift in the air signaled another arrival. A swirling portal opened behind them, and a strange humanoid figure stepped out. Without hesitation, Elf asked,
"Yogamont, what are you doing here?"
Yogamont turned. His replied,
"Delivering information about the Eastern Territory."
"The small island to the east, the land of the Shadow Monarch. Didn't you decide to handle that place yourself?"
The mage nodded, but spoke with urgency.
"The rulers plan to release Legius south of there, so I will claim that land instead."
Hearing this, the elf's interest piqued.
"And the Shadow Monarch?"
The mage dismissed the concern with a wave.
"It won't be an issue as long as the architect fulfills its role."
Then, lowering his voice, he shared a crucial piece of information.
"The greatest fragment of brilliant light. It has been confirmed to be there."
A wicked smile spread across the elf's face.
"Interesting."
But before they could continue their conversation, something changed. A presence, a realization. They had been lured here. From the shadows, a ragged man emerged, his gaze sharp and unwavering.
"The small eastern territory you speak of, you mean Korea?"
The elf turned toward him, intrigued.
"Why? Does it interest you?"
The mage, clearly impatient, scoffed.
"We don't have time to waste on him."
He turned to leave, but the man's grip tightened on his daggers. Without hesitation, he lunged. Before his blades could reach their target, a massive wall of ice erupted between them, stopping the attack in its tracks. The impact was devastating, sending shockwaves through the air and shattering the surrounding landscape. Meanwhile, deep within the Red Gate, Jin-Woo stood face to face with a towering monster. Surrounded by its minions, the beast let out a mocking laugh. "For someone so small, you've come quite far." It turned its gaze toward the dense forest and roared, summoning its comrades. But to its shock, no one came. Confusion flickered in its eyes as it turned back, just in time to hear a commanding voice. "Come out." At Jinwoo's call, Igris and the shadows emerged, dragging the corpses of slain monsters behind them. The monster's expression twisted in horror, and then a severed head flew through the air. Panic set in as it realized the truth. It was surrounded. Jinwoo's voice was calm but merciless. "Kill them." With a single command, the Dark Army surged forward, clashing with the monsters in a brutal battle. Chaos erupted, but among the enemy ranks, fear took hold. Some monsters, unwilling to fight the shadow soldiers, broke formation and charged toward Jinwoo instead. But he never made it. A massive shadow bear emerged behind them, roaring as it struck with overwhelming power, scattering them in all directions. Their leader, watching in horror, cursed his own forces. Before he could utter another word, Beru and Igris struck. His body crumpled before he even realized what had happened. In the midst of the carnage, Tusk unleashed his colossal magic, summoning a force so strong that the earth itself trembled. With his gravitational acceleration skill, he crushed the remaining enemies beneath his overwhelming strength. As the battlefield settled, Jinwoo stepped forward, his gaze locked onto the final monster. His voice was quiet, yet it carried an unmistakable weight. "Answer my questions, and I will grant you a swift and painless death." But before he could extract any information, the system interfered. Jinwoo sighed. "No matter. One way or another, I will learn the truth." Reaching into his inventory, he pulled out an item he had obtained long ago, the key from the cursed box. Now, finally, after reaching level 100 during the Jeju raid, he could see its details. Allows the user to enter the Kartanon Temple. The entrance location will be revealed in 417 hours, 6 minutes, 52 seconds. Jinwoo stared at the key, a wave of memories flooding his mind. The double dungeon, the horrors he faced. No matter how much he tried to forget, the system refused to let him. A smirk played on his lips. So, you're calling me back to where it all began? His grip tightened around the key as his confidence surged. If this was planned from the start, if you've been waiting for me to return, then wait for me. I'm coming. Jin-ho sat in his office, clicking his mouse repeatedly, his agitation evident in every sharp motion. He was on a mission to eliminate the haters who had been targeting their guild. No one who dared to harm his brother would be spared. With a sigh of satisfaction, he leaned back in his chair. The task was complete. The most ardent critics of his brother had been silenced. Just then, the door creaked open and Jin-Woo stepped inside. Jin-ho nearly jumped in surprise. Where had he come from? He had disappeared without a trace, only to reappear as if he had sprouted from the very ground. You have been working hard. Jin-Woo's voice was calm, but Jin-ho could sense an underlying exhaustion. Jin-ho's eyes widened. Something was off. Jin-Woo's disheveled appearance suggested he had just been through something rough. Brother, why do you look like that? Jin-Woo waved off the concern. I just got out of a dungeon. Then, pulling a bag from his inventory, he revealed a stash of top-tier mana crystals. Jin-ho's eyes sparkled with excitement. These would cover the guild's expenses for a long time, but one person in the room wasn't celebrating. Jin-Woo frowned at Jin-ho's words. Workers? Salaries? What are you talking about? Jin-ho blinked before realization struck. Ah, don't you remember? We need one more founding member. Hearing this, Jin-Woo said, That's right. We need at least 3 members to form a proper guild, a director, a deputy director, and an employee. Even if to fill the quota, someone diligent would be nice. Jin-Woo sighed. He had no interest in discussing this further, and asked, Is that all? Jin-ho replied, There's another issue we need to settle, the name of our guild. Jin-Woo hadn't given it any thought. It simply wasn't a priority for him. Jin-ho, on the other hand, had already brainstormed several possibilities. How about the Sung Yu Guild, in honor of its 2 founders, he suggested. Then, after a brief pause, he frowned. Or maybe, you Sung. But I wouldn't dare have my name should first. He continued rambling. We could combine our names. Woo-Ho Guild. No, that sounds weird. What about Jin-Jin? That has a nice ring to it. Jin-Woo cut him off with a single suggestion. Solo play. Jin-ho froze. He could hardly believe his ears. Brother, are you serious? He turned away, rubbing his temples. This must be a joke, right? Before he could protest further, a knock at the door interrupted them. Both men exchanged puzzled glances before Jin-ho moved to open it. A soft yet firm voice greeted them.
Is this the office of Hunter Sung Jin-Woo's guild?
Jin-ho's jaw dropped. Standing before him was none other than Hunter Cha Hai-in. Jin-Woo, too, was taken aback. Hunter Cha? What brings you here? Her response was simple.
I want to join your guild.
Silence filled the room. Jin-Woo blinked, unsure if he had heard correctly. Could you repeat that?
I want to join Sung Jin-Woo's guild.
Still bewildered, Jin-Woo searched for an explanation. Did the association send you? Cha frowned.
What does the association have to do with this?
Jin-Woo pressed further. Did Hunter Choi kick you out of your current guild? Cha shook her head.
No.
Jin-Woo couldn't make sense of it. Why would someone of her caliber leave her established guild to join his? When he asked why she wanted to join our solo play guild, her expression changed. Cha's face turned blue.
Solo? Your guild is called Solo Play?
Jin-ho, sensing the awkward tension, jumped in. No. Brother was just joking. He hasn't finalized the name yet. Jin-Woo, with a confused expression, thought his judgments got clouded. Due this confusing situation, Jin-Woo ignored him, his focus locked onto Cha. Something about her felt off. Her heartbeat, breathing, and gaze. She was clearly hiding something. Jin-Woo knew that Cha Hai-in had awakened less than 2 years ago and still had a contract with her current guild. Breaking that contract meant paying a hefty penalty. Yet, she was willing to pay. Why? Jin-Woo narrowed his eyes. You know we can't afford to compensate you at your level. Cha smiled faintly.
That doesn't matter to me.
Jin-Woo's suspicion deepened. Was she truly willing to take a disadvantageous deal just to be part of his guild? Cha hesitated, uncertain whether to reveal the truth. She remembered the moment she first met him, drawn by the scent that surrounded Jin-Woo. It started out of curiosity. He was like the only light in this dark world, and at the last raid during the terrifying battle, she thought she would die. She had never encountered anything like it. When she had regained consciousness, the Hunter Association's president was at her side, assuring her that she was safe. She had been airlifted to the hospital, and when she asked the president if Hunter Jin-Woo had also come to the raid, the president shook his head. She thought so because it wasn't a dream, and she really almost died that time. And she realized that if suddenly something happened on one of the raids, what would she do? Thinking about it, she got confused. She couldn't say that she wanted him by her side until her last breath. She was so ashamed of what she thought she blushed, and Jin-Woo couldn't understand what was happening to her. After all, she couldn't tell him about it. After all, judging from her flushed face, she is definitely hiding something, and he doesn't know what's in her mind, but realized that the fact that she might have planned everything in advance cannot be ruled out, and he ended up asking what her answer was. She clenched her fists.
I just want to live comfortably. Am I not allowed to?
Jin-Woo was momentarily caught off guard. No, that's not it. Jin-Ho, ever the observer, leaned in. Even Cha herself came here looking for peace. That must mean the hunter world is even harsher than I imagined. She was only 22 or 23 years old, yet the burden of responsibility weighed heavily on her. She was badly injured during the raid on the island. Jin-Woo cleared his thoughts and said that to join the guild, one must pass a certain test, which the letter didn't mention. After all, it had appeared to them relatively recently, so the vice president had just forgotten about it. Turning to Jin-Ho, Jin-Woo instructed, "Go downstairs and bring us something to eat and drink." As soon as Jin-Ho left, Cha Hai-in wasted no time.
What kind of test?
She asked, her voice steady and determined. Jin-Woo studied her for a moment before answering. "You'll have to defeat one of my summons." She let out a small sigh, crossing her arms.
Is that really how low your evaluation of me is?
Then, her gaze sharpened.
Which summon is it?
Jin-Woo smirked. "For you, I'll pick my strongest warrior." With a confident gleam flickering in her eyes, she replied.
Good.
The huntress was eager to join the guild. She abruptly stood up from the couch and asked excitedly,
When do we start the test?
Jin-Woo gave a small nod. "Right now. How about we have it at the Hunter Association's gym?" However, just as he suggested it, he realized something: the journey there would take quite some time. Not wanting to waste time, he decided to try shadow exchange, a skill that allowed him to switch places with any shadow soldier. The only downside was that after using it, it would become unavailable for 3 hours, with its cooldown depending on its level. As the huntress approached the door, ready to leave, Jin-Woo spoke up. "We don't have to go through there. There's an easier way to get there." She turned back, curious.
What do you mean?
Jin-Woo hesitated slightly before adding, "You'll have to stand a little closer to me, if you don't mind." She didn't fully understand what he meant, but before she could ask, Jin-Woo suddenly pulled her against him. Her face flushed red at the unexpected closeness. And in that same instant, the shadows beneath them swallowed them whole. At the same moment, Jin-Ho returned to the room carrying a tray of food. "I brought some snacks so we can talk in peace," he started, but mid-sentence, he froze. Instead of Jin-Woo and Cha Hai-in, a shadow orc stood in the room. Jin-Ho blinked in shock. The shadow orc, completely unfazed, simply reached out and took the food from Jin-Ho's hands, immediately digging in. Jin-Ho could only stare in disbelief. Meanwhile, Jin-Woo and Cha Hai-in reappeared inside the Hunter Association's training hall. She stumbled slightly from the sudden teleportation, her eyes wide in shock.
How did we get here?
Jin-Woo analyzed her reaction. His assumption had been correct. Shadow exchange worked like a gateway, instantly connecting two locations via his shadow soldiers. The fact that he could bring others along only confirmed his theory. He turned to her and said, "Let's begin the test." Cha Hai-in suddenly looked flustered.
Wait, I forgot my weapon.
Jin-Woo raised an eyebrow and asked, "That pickaxe you had in the dungeon?" At his words, she turned bright red.
That wasn't my weapon.
She protested. Seeing her reaction, Jin-Woo smirked. "I was just joking." She let out a small sigh and said,
It's fine. I can find something suitable in the warehouse.
She walked over to the armory section of the training hall. Since the training was regularly conducted here, they had built a sizable weapon storage beside the hall. Though not the best, the weapons there were sufficient for sparring. After a brief search, she picked out a sword that suited her. Turning back to Jin-Woo, she said,
I'm ready.
Jin-Woo glanced at the weapon and asked, "Will that be okay?" "It's not your usual sword." She shook her head.
It doesn't matter. A monster doesn't care whether I'm comfortable or not.
That answer impressed him. Well said. However, he hesitated. With her fighting style, an ordinary shadow soldier wouldn't stand a chance. She would tear through them in a matter of seconds. Instead, he made a decision. Jin-Woo raised his hand and summoned Igris. "Among my soldiers, he's the best swordsman." The huntress looked at the knight and asked,
How do we decide the winner?
Jin-Woo answered, "Until one of you surrenders." Although he had said he would let her fight his strongest warrior, Jin-Woo was concerned that Beru might traumatize her even further. In this case, Igris was the best choice. As she stepped into position, Jin-Woo turned his attention to her sword. Any weapon would do. "Turn away for a second," he instructed. She looked puzzled, but complied. Taking the opportunity, Jin-Woo pulled out the Demon King's longsword and handed it to Igris. "Use this." A moment later, the battle began. Igris charged forward, his new sword flashing. As he swung it down, a bright lightning bolt struck the ground, the sheer force shaking the entire hall. Jin-Woo watched closely. She was fast, faster than he expected. A normal human would have been obliterated by that attack, but she dodged and countered as if fighting on equal terms. Elsewhere, the president of the Hunter Association sat in his office, filling out paperwork. His gaze shifted to the window, where he noticed a light on in the training room. He frowned. No one booked the hall today. Curious, he picked up his phone and instructed his subordinates, "Send me the surveillance footage of the training hall." When the footage arrived, 2 hunters were inside the gym. Then, a realization dawned upon him. He remembered the time when Cha Hai-in had asked him if Jin-Woo had been at the raid. At the time, he hadn't thought much of it. But now, he quickly ordered, "Turn off cameras in the training room. Put it on record as an inspection." Just as he finished speaking, the picture frame behind him suddenly shifted from the impact of a powerful strike in the gym. The president doesn't seem surprised by this, thinking about, this is the power of youth. Back in the training hall, Jin-Woo's eyes widened in surprise. Igris had just been thrown back, crashing into the wall. Cha Hai-in lowered her sword and glanced at Jin-Woo.
Was that Black Knight really your strongest summon?
She took a step forward, gaze unwavering.
You said you would summon the strongest. Please summon him.
Jin-Woo hesitated. That might be dangerous for you. She didn't back down.
I don't care. I still want to fight him again.
At that moment, Jin-Woo realized she knew about Beru. His expression shifted. He called, "Beru." His shadow stirred ominously. "Are you sure?" he asked again. Cha Hai-in met his gaze without hesitation. He asked her again, "Will you really be okay?" Although Beru was weaker than when he was alive, he was originally born to kill hunters, and right now the advantage was not on Cha Hai-in's side. At that moment, Jin-Woo heard Beru's voice.
"My king, what should I do with the huntress?"
Jin-Woo responded firmly. "Defeat her, but don't let her get hurt." The moment the command left his lips, Beru let out a terrifying screech. The entire training hall trembled as the powerful sound wave shattered every light bulb, plunging the room into darkness. The huntress's breath hitched, she could feel it. Beru was strong. She clenched her sword. How had Jin-Woo fought this monster alone? Through the darkness, Beru's sharp fangs gleamed menacingly. Just as he prepared to strike, stop. Jin-Woo's voice cut through the silence like a blade. Beru instantly froze. Jin-Woo's tone was cold. If she gets hurt, I won't forgive you. Lowering his fangs, Beru bowed his head slightly.
As my king commands.
The huntress, however, was already searching for an opening. Suddenly, Beru vanished and reappeared behind her in an instant. Her eyes widened, just like last time. Reacting instinctively, she swung her sword, but Beru effortlessly deflected it. He hadn't forgotten Jin-Woo's orders. He couldn't harm her, but he had another command to follow.
Break the enemy's spirit.
With that, the real fight began. Chae Hai-in launched a relentless barrage of attacks, her blades slashing toward Beru at blinding speed. But no matter how hard she tried, her sword never found its mark. Beru weaved through her strikes, effortlessly dodging in mid-air. Then a sudden burst of sound erupted from Beru. The high-frequency shockwave struck Chae Hai-in, sending her stumbling back. Her body hit the floor, and she barely managed to recover. Jin-Woo, watching closely, narrowed his eyes. That was enough. The match is over. But Chae Hai-in didn't back down. She tightened her grip on her sword, her breathing ragged. She wasn't done. Jin-Woo frowned. Why? It made no sense. The difference in strength was clear. Why was she still pushing forward? Even Beru seemed momentarily conflicted. But then his instincts took over. Once a creature has danced on the brink of life and death, it learns to recognize one fundamental truth: predator or prey. And for Beru, resisting a predator was unacceptable. His aggression sharpened, his movements became faster, deadlier. But so did hers. She dodged, again and again. She leaped from side to side, avoiding every strike meant to finish her. Then her sword began to glow. Jin-Woo's eyes widened. Chae Hai-in's movements became fluid, relentless, and terrifyingly precise. With a final leap, she pounced on Beru, her sword slashing down in a devastating final blow. The weapon shattered. A gasp escaped her lips. It broke? Her strongest attack, the only chance she had left, and it had failed. Still, she wasn't done. Pouring everything into one last strike, she used the Sword of Light skill, lunging toward Beru with blinding speed and force. And then she hit him. Jin-Woo's heart pounded. In that moment, something awoke inside Beru. A voice, a command given at his birth.
Destroy the enemy.
A deep, red aura exploded around him. His eyes blazed with aggression. Jin-Woo instantly knew this wasn't part of the test anymore. Beru was about to kill her. "Stop!" Jin-Woo shouted. But it was too late. The attack had already been launched. The moment before impact, Jin-Woo moved, faster than anyone could see. He appeared between them, blocking the strike with his own body. Dust exploded around them as the impact shook the entire hall. Silence fell. As the dust settled, Jin-Woo glared at Beru. "I ordered you to stop. Why did you disobey?" Beru staggered backward, then he dropped to his knees.
My king, please forgive me.
Jin-Woo exhaled slowly. He turned toward Chae Hai-in, his expression unreadable. "Why are you taking such a risk?" he asked. She didn't answer. Jin-Woo's gaze hardened. "What benefit is there in joining this guild? This is just a test for a nameless guild. Why would you put your life on the line for this? What drives you?" Still, she remained silent. Jin-Woo stared at her, trying to understand, and then a thought crossed his mind. Could it be? He hesitated before asking, "Are you interested in me?" For a long moment, she didn't reply. Then softly,
Yes, I think so.
Michael Connor and Norma Selner approached David Brennan, the director of the Bureau of Hunters, their expressions filled with regret.
We're sorry.
Selner began, but David cut her off, leaning back in his chair. "I didn't call you here for apologies," he said, his tone sharp. "I want an explanation. How did this happen?" Selner took a deep breath. "According to our surveillance reports, Hunter Sung Jin-Woo is not just another awakened being, he's one of the kings. David's eyes narrowed. One of the kings? He questioned Selna, asking if Sung Jin-Woo has the power of a national-level hunter.
I want to clarify something,
She continued.
When a person awakens, their power is linked to an external source, a connection to the other side. Through my ability, I can see those connections. Some shine like diamonds, radiating overwhelming energy. I call them kings.
She hesitated for a moment before adding,
But with Hunter Jinwoo, I saw nothing.
Selna's expression darkened.
When I looked into his eyes, the darkness looked back at me.
A shiver ran down Michael's spine. What do you mean by that? David pressed. Are you saying Hunter Sung Jin-Woo is evil? Selna shook her head.
I'm not speaking about his intentions. Whether he's good or evil is not for me to decide. I'm talking about where his power comes from.
David remained silent, listening.
Unlike other awakened beings, he doesn't draw power from the external channels.
Selna's voice was almost a whisper now.
He feeds on the power within himself.
Her eyes met David's.
His power is infinite.
The weight of her words settled in the room. After a moment of silence, David stood up. You've done well, he said, striding toward the door. Michael, still trying to process everything, frowned. Director, where are you going? David didn't stop. To the 24th underground floor. You're coming with me. The two men stepped into the elevator and began their descent. As the doors closed, David spoke. If we can't use Madame Selna's power, then we need to find another way. Michael's brows furrowed. Another way? Do you remember the first ever S-rank dungeon break? Michael stiffened. Of course. It was a nightmare. The entire west coast of the US was nearly wiped out. He swallowed hard as the memory resurfaced. Only 5 of our strongest hunters survived. 5? Out of hundreds. David nodded. And because of that, the US granted those 5 national-level privileges. That's where the term national-level hunter was born. That day, David continued, his voice heavy, we faced a monster unlike any other, a dragon whose flames never died out. Kamish. Michael clenched his fists. That thing killed so many hunters. The elevator dinged. They had arrived. As the doors slid open, cold air rushed past them. A massive metal door loomed before them. David placed his palm on the scanner, and with a low hiss, the door unlocked. Michael's breath hitched as his eyes landed on the object inside the room. A single runestone, pulsing with ominous energy. David stepped forward. Kamish left us a gift, he said, his voice filled with reverence. Michael stared at the runestone, a remnant of the strongest dragon in history. It's been 8 years since Kamish fell, and none of the 5 surviving hunters were mages. His eyes gleamed. This stone has been waiting for its true owner. At the same time, in Korea, Hunter Sung Jin-Woo stood in front of his mirror, studying himself. He had changed, grown stronger. He ran a hand over his face. No imperfections, no scars. His entire body had been reborn. Feeling a sudden urge, he burst into his sister's. Gina, he said, what do you think of me? She blinked, confused.
Huh?
You know, like my male charm. Gina narrowed her eyes.
Why are you suddenly asking me that? Where did you get that confidence?
Jin-Woo smirked. Come on, be honest. His sister glanced at him, then deadpanned.
You look like a bum.
Jin-Woo chuckled. Thanks for your objective assessment. She kicked him. Ow, he said lazily. You do realize you're kicking an S-rank hunter, right? You might break your leg. Gina scoffed.
I'm still first place in my class, you know.
Jin-Woo smiled. I am starting my own guild. Gina perked up.
Ooh, now I have to call you boss, huh?
Jin-Woo paused, then asked, what do you think of the name solo play? Gina burst out laughing.
That's so lame. You summon black soldiers? You're not playing solo at all.
Jin-Woo frowned. That actually makes sense. Then what do you suggest? Gina grinned.
Ajin?
Jin.
The A means I, and Jin means to move forward. It's like leveling up.
And, she added cheekily,
It's also my name backward.
Jin-Woo stared at her. Not bad. Meanwhile, at her apartment, Cha Hai-in lay in bed, tormented by what she had said to Jin-Woo earlier.
Why did I say that?
She groaned, burying her face in her pillow.
Did it sound like a confession? What if he thinks I'm crazy?
She rolled over, sighing.
But he saved my life.
Her heart pounded.
Of course I'm interested in him.
With a frustrated sigh, she tried to push the thoughts away, only for another memory to surface. The moment she was dying, she had seen Hunter Min Byung-goo's soul. He had grabbed her hand and whispered, "Tell Jin-Woo to be careful with his own power." Her breath caught.
I saw Hunter Min Byung-goo.
She murmured. The next day, members of a prominent Knights Guild gathered to discuss the emergence of a new dungeon. However, obtaining a permit this time posed a challenge. Its level rating was unusually high. One of the hunters speculated this might be an S-rank dungeon. His companion quickly refuted, "No, it's classified as A rank." Despite the official rating, the guild was hesitant. If an emergency occurred inside, they could find themselves trapped. And if the dungeon truly turned out to be S rank, they'd have no choice but to retreat. Yet, if they abandoned the raid now, it would tarnish their reputation. Their guild was one of the largest in the country, and walking away from an A-rank dungeon would look weak in the eyes of the public. If they passed on it, the credit would go to other, more renowned guilds. They debated their next move. Their roster included some skilled hunters, but the guild still lacked an S-rank member, a major disadvantage. Some dismissed the importance of an S-rank hunter, but suddenly a female hunter approached. "Why don't we form an alliance?" she suggested. "We can't handle this alone," she continued. "Other guilds are probably already discussing it. We just don't know if they'll agree to work with us." However, she raised a potential issue. There might be complications. Instead of multiple guilds, how about we bring in just one person to join us? One of the hunters furrowed his brow. Why not just clear a lower-ranked dungeon? What's the point of all this? Then, suddenly, realization struck him. Wait, you're talking about Hunter Sung Jin-Woo, aren't you? A heavy silence filled the room. Jin-Woo was a wild card. Teaming up with him could bring fame, but also problems. His power was undeniable, but if he joined, all eyes would be on them. Worse, if they failed, their guild's reputation would take a massive hit. Despite this, one hunter was confident. Under his patronage, we'll make it back in one piece. He turned to his colleagues. Does anyone know what Hunter Jin-Woo is up to right now? Another member replied, No idea. I only know he recently cleared a dungeon on the highway. Determined, the hunter decided to track down Jin-Woo's contact information. But before he could proceed, the guild leader interrupted him. Don't bother. We can't handle this kind of business over the phone. If we want him to join, we have to visit him personally. At the same time, Sung Jin-Woo sat in his office, discussing guild matters with Yu Jinho. I've decided, Jin-Woo said. We'll call our guild a Jin. Jinho's face lit up. Sounds great. Then, after a brief pause, he added, as long as we don't call it solo play. Jin-Woo smirked. Yeah, that's off the table. But they still had a problem. They needed more members. Jinho checked the list of potential recruits. What about Cha Hai-in? He asked. How did things go yesterday? Jin-Woo leaned back in his chair. It didn't work out, he replied. She's not the right fit for us. Jinho frowned. But she's an S-rank hunter, young, talented, and, well, beautiful. What more could you want? Jin-Woo remained silent. Jinho sighed. All right then, what kind of hunter are you looking for? Jin-Woo thought for a moment. I need someone with a hunter's license, someone who won't interfere in guild matters, and most importantly, someone who'll trust me unconditionally. Jinho pondered this for a moment. Then, suddenly, an idea struck him. Wait, I think I know who you're looking for. But before he could say the name, a knock echoed from the door. Jin-Woo got up, half expecting it to be Cha Hai-in again. But as he opened the door, he was greeted by 3 people in suits. His eyes narrowed. They stepped inside, taking seats on the couch. Without hesitation, one of the men got straight to the point. "A massive gate has appeared," he said. "We have video evidence. The gate is abnormally large, and as you know, size often correlates with difficulty." Jin-Woo listened carefully. "But the association refused to grant us clearance. We don't have an S-rank hunter in our team, and without one, we can't enter." His gaze locked onto Jin-Woo. "That's where you come in." Jin-Woo remained silent. "We're prepared to pay handsomely," the man added. "Normally, a hunter receives 10% of the profits. We'll offer you 20%. Jin-Woo leaned forward, his expression unreadable. "Make it 50-50. The room tensed. The man stiffened. 50%. That's— Jin-Woo cut him off. "I'll only agree if you recognize me as a guild, not just an individual hunter." The negotiator hesitated. 40-60? Jin-Woo shook his head. "I won't negotiate." Realizing Jin-Woo wouldn't budge, the man sighed. "Fine, you'll have 50%. Jin-Woo nodded. "The dungeon's been open for too long already," the man warned. "We leave tomorrow morning." "Tomorrow?" Jin-Woo glanced at the time. "I have plans today." He subtly activated shadow extraction, attaching a shadow to the man's leg. "You don't have to worry, I'll be there." Just then, another hunter spoke up. "Wait a second, did your shadow just move?" Jin-Woo's phone vibrated. He glanced at the screen. It was his mother. "Excuse me," he said. "I need to take this call." He stepped outside and answered. "Mom?" A warm voice greeted him. Surprised? "I bought a new phone. I just wanted to hear your voice." Jin-Woo smiled. "Not disturbing anything important, am I?" she asked. "Not at all." He was standing not far from the entrance of his building. He suggested having dinner together tonight. The next day, in Busan City, a large crowd of hunters gathered near the massive gate. One of the men who had spoken to Jin-Woo checked his phone. 11 a.m. "Come on," he muttered. "I barely convinced him to come. He better not be late." Meanwhile, across the city, Jin-Woo stood outside his home, watching the rain. Did Gina remember to take an umbrella? Then he glanced at his watch. Time to go. With a thought, he activated Shadow Exchange. At the same moment, in a quiet school hallway, 3 students walked toward an empty classroom. Inside, they found a gate, one that shouldn't exist. Before they could get started, one of the students suddenly froze in place, his gaze fixed on something at the back of the classroom. "Why are you shaking?" he scoffed at the others. "As long as the gate is closed, there's nothing to be afraid of. Only hunters can come out of it, and it won't even open for at least a week." But the third student frowned. A massive green hand burst through the gate. In an instant, it grabbed one of the students by the head and lifted him into the air. His muffled screams filled the classroom as he thrashed helplessly. The other 2 stood frozen in horrified silence as their friend was crushed by the orc's hand. The orc's head popped through the gate, its red eyes glowing with murderous intent. The students could only scream out their friend's name in fear after seeing the orc.